What's up, everyone? Super excited for today's episode. We're showing a little bit of love for the big guys today. We got an O-lineman with us. Before we get into it, I do have to give a shout out to our sponsor, Nano Hydrate. If you guys haven't tried these, you need to. They've solved one of the bigger problems in nutrients and like digestion, because usually what's going to happen when you drink like a pre-workout or any type of electrolyte drink, you're going to dispose of a lot of it before it actually benefits you, before it actually hits your muscles and your bloodstream. And so what this is it's pre-broken down nutrients, nano-sized nutrients. So it goes straight to your muscle, straight to your bloodstream, and eliminates a lot of that wasted value that you would otherwise be getting. So if you haven't tried them, you need to. You can check out their website, or you can go on their website and it'll actually show you find a store locator, and you can find a store near you that has them. So they've got a couple different levels of caffeine and sugar, so you can find one that works good for you. But we'll get right into it. We got Connor Pay with us. Like I said, we're showing a little love to the big fellas. We haven't had any linemen on here yet, so we need to. You guys get overlooked.
What a shame.
Right? Why do the O-linemen, or linemen in general, why don't they get any glory?
Well, I think for the most part we don't care.
Is that what it is?
It's not like we're seeking it out. But also I think, you're kind of just, you don't touch the football, really, with the exception of me, I guess, snapping.
Right.
And so you're kind of just, it's just a glob of humanity in the middle of the field. And, the ball is going everywhere else. Everyone else's eyes are going to other things. Very rarely are they on the offensive line unless, it's a really big matchup. Say like Von Miller's on the edge or something like that. And someone's like, oh, you got to watch him pass rush on third down. Other than that, no one's even paying attention until you screw something up. Then it's everyone, they are terrible.
That's how it is, huh?
Yeah.
It's like you guys block and the quarterback stands in the pocket for 5 seconds, no glory, but you get one holding penalty or let a sack up and everybody hates you.
Yeah.
Golly.
Yeah.
That's a tough life.
No, I remember against Baylor my freshman year in 2021, I gave up a strip sack against Baylor, and it was so bad. I got so many DMs on social media.
Really?
People just unloading on me.
Dude, that is crazy.
And it was, because it was a big play in the game. It was a big mistake on my part, but I was so shocked. I had never gotten like a DM from a fan before or something. Right. For any reason. I was like a nobody. And out of nowhere, just people just pinging me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook even. Like these old people on Facebook just hammering me.
Ruthless. Those BYU fans, man, they'll get after you, I guess.
They will. That's funny. You can't blame them. They're passionate.
They are. Yeah, there's no doubt about that. So tell us, we'll talk a little more about that, but give us a little intro on yourself. Where are you from, family?
So I'm from Highland, Utah. I went to Lone Peak High School here, just like 30 minutes north of Provo. And let's see. Well, I guess I was always just, sports was always kind of my life. Football, basketball, and baseball were the three I played through high school.
Yeah.
When I was younger, it always seemed like baseball would be the route.
Are you a big slugger?
I was. Not anymore.
Yeah?
Not anymore. But I was a pretty average player. I like to think that I was okay.
Yeah.
But that's the sport I excelled at when I was younger. And so it's kind of like, okay, maybe baseball's the route. I was a pretty normal football player. I was just kind of big. So, like,
yeah.
Little league, if you're big, you just have some unfair advantages.
Right.
But then, getting into high school, I got a little better at football, and then scholarships started rolling in. It's kind of like, okay, yeah, football is the future. What everybody expected with my family. But
yeah,
because my dad played at BYU. And
what position did he play?
Center. He did play center, which I did not think I was going to play.
Really?
But I ended up there.
Because you didn't play center in high school, did you?
No, I haven't played center since I was probably 10 or 11 years old.
Mm.
So I came into BYU as a tackle, spent my first fall camp at tackle, but then the opening in the two deep was at guard. And one of the goals as a freshman when you first get, you want to make the travel squad so you can go to the games. Right. So I slid in to a guard spot just so I could make the travel squad because we were deep at tackle. We had Brady Christensen, Chandon Herring, Blake Freeland, Harris LaChance, all guys who are moving on to the league now.
Right.
And so we were pretty stacked at tackle. So I slid in to guard just so I could make the travel squad, and I did. So it was worth it.
There you go.
And then like halfway through my freshman season, you know, Coach Grimes and Coach Mateos were kind of just like, hey, you know, we always need like emergency center just in case. You know, you can never have too many people who know how to snap. So like, can you just try it? And I was like, okay. So just out during pre-practice for one day during CQ, I started snapping and it came pretty natural. It was pretty easy for me to do. So since then, they would just kind of throw reps in here, reps in there. But I was mainly at guard or tackle throughout those practices, and then would maybe get 2 or 3 plays a week at center. And then fast forward to the bowl game in 2020, James Empey wasn't able to come to the bowl game, got COVID. So Joe Tukuafu is our starting center for that bowl game. And, you know, Mateos was just like, hey, like, you're next at center, so just be prepared. And I had very limited – I had played center once or twice in a game before that, but, like, in garbage time when we were up by 50, like the last drive. And so I had never had any real reps at center before. And then, like, on the second drive, Joe hurts his ankle. And I just have to go in at center. And I'm, like, looking around, like, you know, I got Brady Christensen, my left tackle. Right, Tristan Hodge, Chandon Herring. I'm playing with all these dudes, you know, who are, like, 7 years my senior. And luckily I played well in that game. And it was pretty easy with those guys next to you, give you a lot of confidence. Helps. But then I played really well at center in that game. And I was, like, 6 or 7 months off a mission at that point.
Wow.
So
that's wild, actually.
So yeah, it was kind of crazy, like that, to play well that early. I got lucky, and UCF was terrible that year.
Is that who it was? UCF?
Yeah, they were terrible that year, at least on defense. They're much better now than they were in 2020. But so since then, I kind of, you know, okay, he can play center.
Yeah.
And then it was like, okay, well, the guard spot is the one that was open in 2021, my redshirt freshman year. And so that's the spot I battled for, and I ended up winning that job and taking some reps, me and Joe Tukuafu both at right guard, because James Empey had returned from his senior season to play center. So I played right guard the first half of 2021, and then James got injured, and I slid down and played center the rest of that season, and then my sophomore season last year played center the whole year. So
really? So that's
kind of the story.
That's actually crazy. I didn't realize that. What's the difference in playing guard versus center? I mean, obviously you're snapping the ball, but do you have more responsibilities?
A lot more. Center is a lot more challenging mentally than guard and tackle, and the technique is a lot different.
Oh, okay.
Guard and tackle, it's pretty similar. Your angles are just a little different, and obviously pass protection for a tackle, you're on an island a lot more. But at center, you know, your feet are even. You don't have a stagger. You have to snap the ball. You're quite a bit closer to the line of scrimmage than everybody else.
I never thought about that part of it.
And so everything happens a lot faster at center. And so it's a little bit, it's quite a bit different.
There's a lot more on your plate, like mentally too, right?
Yeah. I have to go up. I guess I can just kind of take you through a pre-snap.
Yeah, take us through the pre-snap
routine, I guess.
There you go.
I go up to the line of scrimmage. The first thing I do is I identify the front, whether it's even, odd, bare, whatever. And then then I move to the second level and take my reads there. And depending on where the linebackers are at and where the D linemen are located on the line of scrimmage, that determines what call I make depending on the play. And so every play, you know, you'll have 10 or 15 concepts that you run. But the challenging part is you can run those same concepts 15 different ways, depending on where the defense lines up. So it's my responsibility to identify what the defense is doing, make the right call, because everyone goes off of the center's call in most systems. That's pretty common. Right. And so, you know, tight ends, running backs, they're waiting to see my call to know what to do. Right. And so it's kind of, you know, it's the game slowed down a lot after I had started playing center and went back to guard. Yeah. Then it was like all this pre-snap processing that I'd gotten used to. I could still do it without being responsible for making all the calls. But anyways, and then occasionally we've had games where I need to move up to the third level and see where the safeties line up. There was one game where I think it was Georgia Southern. when we went and played there, where if they got in a specific look on defense, if their backers were bossed over to one side, and the safety, I can't remember what number it was, but it was a specific number. If he was on the hash, they were bringing pressure from that side, and it was like 95%.
Oh, wow.
And so there was a couple times in that game where I noticed that, saw the safety moved over, turned the protection that way into a blitz. So, like, just things like that.
There's a lot on your plate.
It's a lot. It is a lot.
So
But
what's the hardest part? Like, what's the most difficult thing a defense can do to you?
I would say probably the most challenging thing a defense does is just pre-snap movement.
That's what I would have guessed.
Is especially with linebackers, because the way we run our scheme, we can handle most movement pretty well just with our base rules. But sometimes, if you've ID'd a specific person and whatever that means on that given play, and that person moves or changes or they swap with somebody else, I have to try to hurry and spit out another number
Right.
or point to make sure everybody's on the same page. Sometimes you can kind of just fall into it.
Right.
If everyone, like last year, we could do that a few times because we had a lot of veteran players, especially on the O-line, running back, quarterback. Jaron had been in the system. Everybody kind of knew what was going on.
Yeah.
And so sometimes we could get away with it where we just don't say anything and they moved. Okay, now we know who's in this position. That's who we're supposed to go to.
Right.
But I would say pre-snap movement
That makes sense.
is a challenge a little bit.
Because being on the same page is the biggest part, right?
Yeah,
you got one side sliding one way, the other side sliding the other way, and you guys are in trouble.
Yeah, and so we practice it a bunch. The scout team will move around a lot.
Yeah.
Do things like that just so we can practice having to do things kind of on the run.
That's crazy. That makes sense. So, kind of on a personal level, you went on a mission, right?
I did.
Where was that?
Washington, D.C.
How was that?
I loved it.
Yeah?
I loved it. That was my mission was life-changing for me in a lot of ways, and especially going to the D.C. area, political capital of the world.
Yeah.
It's kind of an interesting time in history to be in that area.
Right.
And I was on the Virginia side of the Potomac River for all of my time, really. So I was in Mount Vernon, Crystal City, Alexandria.
I'm going to act like I know where that is.
Up in Oakton.
Yeah.
It's right across the river from D.C.
Gotcha.
So I don't know if you know, like, where the Commanders are at.
No.
Like, they're in Ashburn, Virginia. So it's like 20 minutes south of there.
Gotcha.
But I loved it.
Yeah.
It's one of the most diverse places in the world. And so that was one of my favorite parts. Is I remember in like my first week in the field, just going out and talking to people it seemed like everybody was from a different country.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, what is going on?
Yeah, because you're from Utah. Everybody's from the same place.
Yeah. And so I like printed off this country's list and I started keeping track of people that I met. And I ended up at like 165 different countries or something.
No way.
People that I met. And I would put a little star next to their name if we actually went into their home, talked to them, taught a lesson. And it was like 102.
That's crazy.
Different countries. So that was a really awesome experience to be able to not only preach about Jesus, which was my favorite part,
right? But
also you got to meet some amazing people.
Yeah, that is a cool part.
I think outside of the testimony of the Savior that you gain on a mission, I think most people about their missions would say one of their favorite parts was the people.
Right. It makes you wonder. It's like if you just were more outgoing right now, like in your everyday life, it's like you'd probably be saying that same thing. You know what I mean? Whereas like when you're out there, you're talking to everybody you can possibly talk to. It's like you realize how good people really are. And I think when you're not that outgoing, it's like you just assume that people aren't willing to talk to you when really they probably are. So
no, I think that's definitely true. And it's like when you think about school
or
like football, some of the most fun parts about being there is being with the boys,
right?
Or being with people at school.
Yeah, like
social interaction is something that I enjoy a lot. And so,
well, dude, it's one of the things I love about this getting to do this podcast is I get to learn so much about people, and it's so interesting how everybody comes from a different place, but they all want the same things. Like we all have very similar goals, especially when we're all in the same community of football. Yeah. But what would you say the biggest thing you took away from your mission that you apply to your daily life now?
I'd probably say the biggest thing is just the power that I learned in just obedience to God's commandments. Life is just so much easier when you do what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Every time in my life, especially since my mission, I can go through and see, okay, look at this really challenging time. And I can go through and I can identify things where it's like, I should have been better there. And it's like sometimes it's, outside circumstances that you can't control. But as long as I know that I'm doing my best to be right with God,
Yeah.
life is always so much better.
Isn't that truth?
And so I would say that's the number one thing. Maybe the highest overall is just the love that I have for God.
Right.
And, the testimony and the knowledge of the power of Christ and who he is.
Yeah.
And then I think probably as a subset of that is, obedience to what they ask us to do. And that makes me a better person. It enriches the lives of the people around me.
Yeah.
And, I'm not perfect at it, but I try my best. And I would say that those are the things that I take away the most.
That's awesome. Here's a question, similar question. What would you say you took away from your mission that you apply most in your football life?
Discipline.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think, as a missionary, you go from no structure. Well, you have your family structure, but, then you go into the mission field where it's like every 30 minutes of your day is planned out.
Oh, there's not a second.
For 16 hours
Yeah.
or however long it is.
Yeah.
And so, you learn to become very disciplined in those things. And I take that to the football field, as well. And just being disciplined and doing all the little things right is something that I really try to do. And I think that is something that I learned how to do in the mission field.
I think I think you hit the nail on the head with that. When you can be disciplined, you have so much more control over your life. Yeah. And just the way things go, right? It's like being in control is always better, right? Versus having things that control you. So,
I'd say discipline is the key to freedom, I would think.
100%.
When you lack discipline, you, like you said, you lose control of your life.
It's kind of that concept of like people think being more disciplined restricts you, but being more disciplined allows you to be in more control, right? Yeah. So, tell us a little bit about your family. What's your family like?
So, well, I have my parents, my dad, I don't know if I mentioned this already, but he played at BYU, played center, went on to play in the NFL for a couple of years, came back, went to law school.
After the NFL?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yep. So then he's a corporate attorney now. And then my mom studied communications and PR, and she worked for New Skin for a while. And then once my parents started having kids, after she put my dad through law school, then she became a stay-at-home mom after that. But I have an older sister who's a professional singer. She lives in Los Angeles.
Oh, no way.
Yep, this is actually her.
Oh, so, for real? Mikkel?
Yep, shout out to Mikkel. Look
shout
her
out
up
Mikkel.
On Spotify and Apple Music. She's killer.
That's awesome. I'm gonna look her up right now.
And so, yep, she's living in West Hollywood, doing music professionally, going around performing.
That is so cool.
Yep, she's a pop singer.
That's way awesome.
And then I have two younger brothers. One who's signed to play at BYU as an offensive lineman as well, who's on his mission in Alabama right now.
Oh, there you go.
And then my youngest brother is a sophomore in high school right now, just finished up his sophomore football season, and he's playing basketball.
That's way sweet.
About to start baseball. So
that's way cool. That's awesome. What's your favorite song by Mikkel?
Oh, man.
Do you have a favorite?
Oh, man, it's hard to choose because she has like 3 or 4 that I really like, that I like put on my pregame playlist.
Give us 2.
Well, this one isn't really as fast, but it's probably her most famous one. Just Wanted You to Know is a song that I enjoy a lot. And then I would say for a faster paced one, Venom.
Venom
is a song I really like that I listen to quite a bit.
Okay, I got her here, so I'm gonna go later today. I'm gonna go listen to her.
Do it, dude.
Oh, and I'll let you know. This is dope. That's so cool. Spotify. So what are some of your hobbies outside of football?
Well, I do, as nerdy and weird as it sounds, I do love to read.
Really? That's awesome.
And I read a lot of books.
I wish so bad I love to read. Like, I want to love to read. And I listen to a lot of books, but I just can't. Every time, like, I'm going to read a book. And I get, like, halfway through, and then, it doesn't work.
No, I'm a very hands-on person, too. So, like, I like having the physical pages. And I have,
That's
like, a
awesome.
little pen and a highlighter.
That's so
I can
cool.
highlight things that I enjoy, write down notes and stuff
That's the best way to do it right there.
And then I can refer back to things. And,
Yeah.
I think just always learning and continuing to get smarter is an important part of life. And
Huge.
And so I like to read all kinds of stuff, books about science. I love theological books.
Oh, really?
As well. So I love, religion in general.
Yeah.
Also just specifically, learning more about Christ from all the sources that I can. And so I have a lot of books about him specifically that I like to read. And obviously I like to play video games too.
Yeah.
You can't beat just a night of playing COD with the boys.
You throw the headset on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just headphones in, world out.
That's right.
And you just go to town.
That's funny. So COD's your game of choice?
Yeah.
What about book? Do you have a favorite book?
I love like the Harry Potter series, Lord of the Rings.
Really?
Fantasy books are fun to read.
That's cool. So you're like a nerdy reader.
I am a nerdy reader,
I like
sure.
that. I like that
for
a lot.
sure. And I have been for a long time.
That's so cool.
But let's see what other books. I'm reading a book right now called As a Man Thinketh.
Yeah.
By James Allen.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really good book as well. It's not structured like a normal book. It's basically just one paragraph here, one paragraph broken up. It's just like tidbits and quotes, powerful quotes about life and thinking and,
I've heard that's really
controlling your own mind, becoming the master of your own mind.
Yeah.
Essentially. And I'm in the middle of that book right now. And that one's been really enjoyable.
Dude, that's awesome. And then when you're gaming, it's COD.
Mm-hmm.
That's funny. Oh, and you're a big ping ponger. I see you playing ping pong in the locker room.
I do like ping pong. It's fun.
Would you say you're one of the better ones on the team?
One of the better ones, yes.
Yeah.
Probably in the top 10.
Who do you think's number one? Is there a clear best ping ponger on the team?
I don't know. I'm trying to think I don't think there's anyone who hasn't lost.
I haven't lost.
How many times have you played?
I haven't played yet.
Yeah.
But I probably won't lose. I'll tell you right now.
Okay, let's go play today then.
I'll play. I need to hop on. Everybody's been playing. I see Ice Moa playing. He sucks.
Ice is bad.
He's terrible.
Ice will talk about how good he is at ping pong. Ice is bad.
That's funny.
Hobbs Nyberg is really good. Caden Hawes is good.
Oh, I see.
Ethan Erickson is good. I can't think of anyone that I know of that has played a lot and has never lost.
Really, no one that just absolutely dominates. But there's some good dudes.
But there's that top 5 that are they're gonna beat almost everybody else on the team, and then they'll lose to each other.
That's funny.
So
that's awesome. So, dude, here's the question: did you always plan on growing up? Because you said you started getting offers. So I'm assuming you had a couple options.
Yeah.
What was your top 3?
My top 3 were BYU, Utah, and UCLA.
Oh wow.
Because, my recruiting began with Coach Touche back in the Bronco days.
Oh, that long ago.
After my freshman year or so, and then they moved on to Virginia, and then Ty Detmer got hired.
Right. And
Mike Empey was the O-line coach. Both of them played with my dad. So I had known them for a long time. Mike has been like an uncle my whole life. And so
Is that James' dad?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's actually what got James back to BYU because he signed with Utah before he left on his mission. And then,
are they Lone Peak people?
AF.
AF, okay.
Yep. And then, coach, and then I committed as a sophomore
to BYU.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was committed for a long time. But a year and a half after that, Coach Detmer got fired. And so Mike subsequently got fired too. And so I didn't really know what the future held. And I was so close with those guys that was kind of like, oh, I need to.
Right, it's always scary.
I kind of need to reevaluate
for sure.
And so that's when I started taking visits other places. Went to UCLA, went to USC. Those were the schools that were probably the only ones I would have left BYU for, and the University of Utah. But Coach Mora at UCLA was awesome. Hank Fraley was the O-line coach there at the time, who was really good.
Yeah.
To me and my family, he's the O-line coach at the Lions now. But
is that the dude that drinks a bunch of coffee?
I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know. Maybe. I might be. I don't know who I'm thinking of. But there's some dude.
I don't know.
Is he the O-line coach right now at the Lions?
Yeah. He was on like the Hard Knocks.
Yeah. I think it's the dude I'm thinking of. Anyways.
Yeah.
Sorry. Keep going.
No, I didn't know that.
I just saw a clip of it.
That surprised me. That's funny.
Yeah.
And then, but then Coach Mora ended up leaving UCLA, and Chip Kelly got hired. And Chip Kelly wasn't really down with the mission idea.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so I ended up having a conversation with him. And, he just said, like, are you serious about a mission? We'd rather have you graduate early, come play in the spring, play in the fall. You can play a year, then go on your mission.
That's the classic. We'll just get you here for a year.
Yeah. And so I took a visit to UCLA, and I ended up talking to a guy who I'd known for a little bit because we went to the same trainer. I didn't know him well. I just knew of him. His name's Xavier Suafilo. He had played O-line in the NFL for a lot of years. I think he's on the Bengals right now.
Huh.
But I ended up having like a chat with him, and I still message with him back and forth on Instagram every once in a while. But I just remember him talking to me and my dad after we went to UCLA against Oregon, and he asked me if I was serious about a mission, and I said, yeah, it's something I'd wanted to do. I knew I was going to do it.
Right.
And he said, well, I'll just tell you that it'll be really challenging if you come here and you want to go on a mission after a year.
Yeah.
And he kind of told me a little bit about his story. He came in, started as a freshman, was an All-American. Then they spent the whole year trying to convince him not to go. He still went.
Yeah.
Came back from his mission, was an All-American 2 more times, got drafted, and has been in the NFL for the last 10 years. But he kind of talked to me a little bit. He's like, it's going to be hard. They're going to try to convince you not to go.
Right.
He's like, and you can easily be sucked into that.
Right. I mean,
and
they can throw a lot at you.
Yeah. Especially now with NIL and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah. Now, oh, man, I can't imagine. Because it was already yeah.
And so I kind of just told Coach Kelly, I was like, look, a mission was something I committed to do. And he said, well, we appreciate your interest in UCLA, but I don't think it's going to work out.
Dude, that is crazy. That speaks volumes to you and your character and about kind of just like your commitment to the Lord, but 2, your commitment to like your word and your own word. It's like, hey, this is something I've always wanted to do. This is something I'm going to do. And I mean, how different would your life be if you wouldn't have stuck to that? You know what I mean?
I don't know.
I always think that, it's like I'm so grateful for my time. It's like, there was a time where it's like, oh, do you go on a mission or do you not? And looking back now, it's like, oh, man, I can't imagine not going. You know what I mean? Changed me completely in the way my mind works.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
That's cool. So it was kind of always tell me, was it always your dream to play for BYU?
Yeah, I think because, my dad played here. I'd grown up going to Alumni Day.
Oh, you were involved
and all that
in
stuff.
The culture.
And especially once we moved here from California, we had season tickets. I went to every home game from like the age of 9 till I was in high school. And so BYU was always number 1, but then, obviously with the coaching changes and stuff, and then, Jeff Grimes gets hired, killer offensive coordinator.
Right.
And I was like, and his O-line coach at the time was Ryan Pugh, and I was like, okay, I'm locked into that. I'm down for that.
That's awesome.
And then on my mission, Coach Pugh ends up getting hired by Troy to go be their offensive coordinator. Coach Mateos gets hired. And Coach Mateos was great. He emailed me right away when he got hired while I was still on my mission, and we had talked back and forth. And those guys were great when I first got to BYU and having a year with them was awesome, and now having Coach Roderick and Coach Funk. So it's it all worked out. I'm really glad that I chose to stick with BYU. I think it was probably one of the better decisions I've made in my life.
Well, that's kind of how it goes, though. When you put the Lord first, whether things work out the way you want them to or not, they work out the way they were supposed to. Yeah. So that's cool.
Exactly.
It's a good lesson to learn and experience, because I know I did too.
No doubt.
Tell me, because you've kind of started a business on the side of football, right?
Yeah.
Talk about that.
So I don't know if you remember, did you play AAU basketball?
Yeah.
Yeah. What team were you on?
Shockwave.
That's right. Because I remember it was always us.
Yeah, we played you guys like
extreme every year in every tournament. It always came down to us three. But I don't know if you remember Steven Ashworth.
No, Steven's one of my good buddies.
So, because when you were up at Utah State.
Yeah.
So, Steven, this is kind of Steven's brainchild, was the idea when NIL first came out of a marketing company that could utilize the notoriety of college athletes along with pushing and sending out advertisements, specifically on social media and Instagram. So when Steven kind of had this idea, and another buddy of mine that I played with, Max Brenchley, who's a golfer at BYU, had kind of started thinking about this. We're developing the LLC and stuff, and then they came to me and we talked about it, and I was able to come on board with them. And it's called Boosted by Local Athletes. And we initially just had packages for companies that would give them access to athletes, and we would do social media marketing for them. And it went really well at first. It was fun. We got companies to sign on, and obviously the movement and the growth is slow right now because all three of us are playing college sports.
Right, that's tough.
So it's kind of like, right now, Steven's in season right now.
Yeah.
So he can't really help as much. And then when I'm in season in the fall, I can't really help as much.
Yeah.
Max is golfing all the time, so it's kind of helping work through his windows too. So we really utilize the time in April through the summer.
Yeah.
Because that's the time that all of us aren't in a sport.
Right.
But no, the company's kind of pivoting now. We're going to kind of go more into the online coupon world and stuff. And, I'm still probably going to continue with the marketing side because I enjoy doing that.
That's awesome.
And, I think Steven has some directions he wants to take the company now, which will be fun. And then I also have a training business that
I saw that. You got that Calendly link on your Instagram.
Yeah, really simple. Just kids go on and sign up, and I train them on Saturday mornings, and I've had a really good group of kids that have come for a couple years now.
That's awesome.
It's kind of been expanding, more and more kids come, so that's been a lot of fun too.
Do you enjoy that a lot?
Yeah, it's fun. And it's just because it's something, football is what I do all day.
Right.
At this point, I'd consider myself somewhat of, an expert in offensive line play in general.
Sure. Right.
And compared to like younger kids or high school kids. So it's nice to be able to go and help them learn new things and make a little extra money doing that. So
right. What are some of the top things you're working on? Because I've played just about every position on the football field except for O and D line. Like, if I think about it, I have. There isn't tight end. Haven't played tight end. Every other position I've played. So what are some of the basic things you guys work on with like the younger generation or the younger kids?
Honestly, it's just kind of helping them learn how their body works and how to control it.
Really?
So it's just like, we start with the base. We could work from stance out. It's like from stance to your first steps to your second steps. It's very methodical.
That's cool.
Just because you can win or lose right there in those first two steps. If those are bad, game over.
Right.
And just learning that they're more capable than they realize.
Yeah.
Especially like if you learn the right technique, like, oh, this guy's a lot bigger than me. It's like, okay, you can still move him, and here's how.
Right.
With principles of leverage and stuff like that, hand placement. There's so many intricacies with the offensive line that it's kind of fun to kind of help push them into those a little bit, or it's like, okay, we've got the base down now, you've got the footwork down. As long as you're strong, connected to the ground, we can do some pretty fun things. And especially with some of my older kids that I train that are juniors, seniors in high school who are a little more advanced, we can get into some pretty fun stuff with the run game and pass protection.
That's awesome. And how much of an advantage is that for them? Because, I mean, there's such an advancement from high school to college.
Yeah.
That's like the knowledge you're able to share with them, like the little tweaks that you don't even think about in high school. It's like, imagine if you'd have had those when you were in high school. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, thankfully I did.
Well,
my
there you
dad
go.
was my coach.
That's why you had freaking
was an
offers
NFL
from
player,
UCLA.
Who was an NFL player.
Yeah.
Right? And so a lot of my base came from him.
Right.
And then being able to build on that with Coach Mateos and now Coach Funk and Coach Grimes as well. But I kind of had that foundation, which is what a lot of high school players don't have.
Right.
Because a lot of high school O-line coaches, right, they're great. They want to help the kids, but it's not like they have this huge wealth of knowledge about how to play offensive line.
Right.
Most coaches are there doing it for the kids just to help.
Right.
And so, you know, being able to help them. And I've worked with high school O-line coaches too.
Yeah.
To help them kind of teach them the principles and stuff, go into their camps, so then they can then share it with their players.
That's way cool.
So, but it is. I think it's a big advantage.
Yeah. Because, I mean, the reality, if you don't have a dad who played in the NFL, you don't have, like, most kids don't have access to that type of information and knowledge. So,
yeah, it's
and
true.
if they do want to get it, it's super expensive, right? A lot of people don't have the money to go pay to go to these, you know, you got these facilities in California and all that stuff where you can go learn, but it's like, dude, people don't got that type of money, just be thrown out. So, that's super cool. What like talking about this year, what are some of your goals for this year for yourself?
Well, I'm hoping for this year to be my last.
That's awesome.
You know, if I play well, there's a lot of things that I need to improve upon. I went through and kind of did a self-scout on myself after the season, and I've got 2 pages full of notes of stuff I got to fix. And so, and now just being in this system for this long mentally, I'm pretty locked in on the offense, calls, everything I need to do. And so now I'm really trying to take, you know, kind of my film study to the next level and also my technique to the next level. That's been a big focus for me so far this winter. Because that's, at the end of the day, that's what kind of pushes you beyond, you know, other players is, you know, knowing what a defense is going to do before they do it.
Exactly.
And then also being able to execute every block with precision.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what I'm working towards right now. And just trying to improve upon, you know, what I've already learned.
Yeah.
And just trying to put the most complete season together that I can. So
that's super cool.
That's probably where my mind's at going forward.
That's awesome. What are you most excited for this year?
The competition. You know, Big 12, you got to play great teams week in and week out.
Is there a team you're looking forward to most?
I don't know.
Or maybe
I don't know if there's like one team. It'll be fun to play at places like West Virginia.
Yeah.
It's wild. Or Texas.
Yeah.
Texas, huge stadium, really
TCU.
loud. TCU. You know, it's going to be fun to go to some of those places.
Yeah.
But just the concept of being in a conference now.
Right.
Of playing great teams week in and week out, being able to see those standings move each week, you know, because you know, A-Rod talks about this a lot. As an independent, it's kind of challenging because if you want to really make a splash nationally, you basically have to go undefeated.
Right.
If you want any chance to go somewhere big. In a conference, you need to win the conference.
Right.
And so, like, now there's not this gigantic pressure of, like, you lose one game, it's over.
Right.
And now it's like, okay, we dropped one. Okay, well, let's look at the standings. Okay, we got to beat this guy. We got to beat this guy. We got to beat this guy to get ourselves to that championship game.
Right.
It's a different kind of mindset, you know, competing for a conference title.
For sure. Are you bummed out we aren't playing Utah this year? Are you done to now? What's your thoughts?
I don't know. I'm 1-0 against the University of Utah, so I don't really care.
There you go.
So, I mean, it's the Holy Wars. That's one of the funnest games I've ever played in.
Yeah.
You know, that game, ASU the next week in 2021, and then the Baylor game this last year.
Yeah.
Are probably my 3 favorite games in college. You know, so having to miss out on that environment, like, it would be really fun to play them.
Yeah,
I'd love to play
them.
But also, it's not like, oh my gosh, you know, we don't got to
Right.
play Utah this year. It's like, well, you know, it is what it is. hopefully they can figure their situation out and they don't end up in the whack or something. Hopefully their commissioner can pull his head out and get something going.
That's funny, man.
But
yeah, we got plenty of teams we're pretty excited to play. So
I know. It's true. Hopefully we get to play them again in the future.
Right.
I won't be here for that, obviously, but, it's the Holy War will never go away.
Yeah, it's always there.
We'll just see how it lines up. But,
What's the best part about being an O-lineman, and what's the worst part about being an O-lineman?
I think the best part about being an O-lineman is, and it's probably one of the more satisfying parts of being an O-lineman, is everything you do as an offensive lineman is for somebody else.
That's cool. I never thought about that.
And there's not a single thing you can do as an offensive lineman that just helps you.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so it's whether it's protecting the quarterback, opening holes for the running back. The greatest teams are the ones who love watching the success of their peers.
Yeah.
They have the most energy, where it doesn't matter who's throwing or catching the touchdowns, who's running them in. Everyone's excited for everyone. And that's kind of the essence of offensive line, of what it is. Like, you're breaking your body to make sure your quarterback's protected, to make sure there's holes for the running back so that they can shine. And that's really satisfying,
that's
honestly,
cool.
In a lot of ways. There's no greater feeling than blowing up a D tackle or a linebacker and just feeling the running back run right behind you, right through a hole, make a move, beat a guy, and score.
Yeah, that's awesome.
There's nothing like that.
That's super cool.
Or they got an exotic blitz coming. You have to react fast. You pick it up, give the quarterback just enough time to lace one into the end zone.
That's way cool.
Knowing that, there's a certain satisfaction that comes, that us five,
yeah,
we just made sure he didn't get his head taken off.
Right.
And and he just threw that ball. And he was able to play at his best because we were able to protect him.
That's cool.
And so that concept I love. And it's the most satisfying part for me, at least, is getting to see. And obviously, there's that, you kind of have to have a dog mentality as an offensive line, a little bit of it's moving a man to point A to point B against their will.
Right.
You know what I mean? And there's a certain satisfaction. There's a certain dominance aspect. You can call it ego or whatever you want, but there's a certain satisfaction, too, that comes from just absolutely dominating the person across from you when they are just absolutely helpless.
It's different down there in the trenches.
It is. It's different.
That's that's a place.
It's different. You're in such close quarters all the time.
Yeah.
All game long. You're talking to each other. You're talking crap. And,
so physical.
Yeah, but it's a lot of fun.
That's awesome. It's a place that when I get down in the trenches, I try to be a little careful. It's not my favorite place to be. I'm not the most comfortable down there, but when we get down in there. So
yeah, when you have to.
That's awesome. So
you're coming in from the third level. It usually doesn't go too well. For you. But.
Yeah, it usually doesn't. But sometimes we get lucky. So what's the worst part about being no lineman? Not to focus on the negatives or anything, but
I don't know. I don't think there's anything that's oh my gosh, this is so terrible. But, I mean, the physical aspect is hard. But that just comes with playing the game of football in general. But, it's your, fingers are dislocating all the time. And, just you're breaking your body down every single day. But, so honestly, that's probably – because other than that, I can't think of anything that's just terrible about offensive line. But it is taxing on your body.
For sure. Did you the other day, you tweaked your hammy a little bit? Is that thing back now?
Yeah. That was 2 days.
Oh, it wasn't nothing crazy.
Yeah, no, that wasn't bad, thankfully. But no, and thankfully I feel healthier now than I ever have.
That's good. Sometimes that's good to kind of get a little reset. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Did you max out the other day? How'd that go?
Good. I feel like I have my legs back a little bit because I had a knee scope last summer.
Oh, yeah.
Which kept me from squatting for a while. And I didn't do it much during the season, more leg press type stuff. But I'm able to squat again now, which has been awesome, kind of get my legs back. And so I was able to hit 250 kilos.
That's a lot.
Which I was pretty happy with coming back off the scope, like I said. So, no, I'm happy with that.
That's awesome. Did you get a good bench up too?
Yeah, I got like 170,
There you go.
which isn't great. It's not my best. We went down a little bit. I'll have to work on that.
I got pinned by 170.
Really?
Yeah, just poof, straight to my chest.
What'd you get?
I went 150.
Dude, that's pretty
No,
good.
160. 160.
That's good for a DB.
Because I'm not used to the kilos, so I went straight from 160 to 170. Because I hit
Didn't
160.
realize it was a 25-pound jump.
Yeah, I did, because I don't know the math. I just know, like, 160 kilos. All right, let's go 170 next. Because that's what I did from 150 to 160, and I got 160 pretty smooth. Like, I didn't really have any problems with it. I didn't realize it was a 20-pound jump. I was like,
I know, dude. I know.
Like, I beat my max by 20 pounds, and then I tried to take another 20-pound jump right after that. Yeah, it didn't work. So
Yeah.
that's awesome. That was one more thing I wanted to ask you about.
Yeah.
It said on somewhere it said you play the drums.
I do play the drums recreationally.
Recreationally?
Yeah.
So just for fun?
Yeah. I did. My dad played, and my dad was in bands in college and stuff. And
that's dope.
I didn't really get into it till after my mission, actually.
Really?
But
what made you get into it?
I don't know. We always had a little kit in my house, like an electric one. It's a little quieter and stuff. And so I just got down there after my mission one day, and I was kind of just messing around. I'd played a little bit, like in high school and stuff, but nothing like actually learning how to do it. It's kind of just, I just go over here and hit stuff and see if it sounds good.
Yeah.
And then I just went down there and I started playing a couple of songs that were really easy, and I was like, I really enjoy this.
That's sweet.
And then so I started learning about it, started learning more about the theory behind drums and music and how it all works and kind of compositions. And now I play quite a bit. I moved that electric kit to my house here in Provo.
Oh, yeah?
So I can play and not disturb my neighbors.
That's awesome. So you got like can you play like songs? Like,
yeah.
That was a stupid question. I didn't mean it like that.
But it's a valid one.
But like, no, like you hear a song that has drums in it, you can like go like play it.
Mm-hmm.
That's
awesome.
How
I've learned. I can't read drum sheet music or anything like that. I just put headphones on, I listen to it, and then I play it.
That's awesome. That's so cool.
And I've gotten better at it now, and I'm actually going to start purchasing some recording equipment and stuff like that. And I've made a few covers already, but they were just recorded through the mic on my phone, on the iPad, so it sounded really bad. And so I'm going to get some mics and stuff, and hopefully I'm going to start making some covers. And I'm debating a YouTube channel.
Dude, why not?
Posting some drum covers just because it's fun. Like, it doesn't have to be for everybody.
Right. You
don't have to come on my YouTube channel and crap on me.
Right.
Like, I'm just doing this for a good time. You know what I mean?
We're not going to be hurt. Just don't say anything. That's funny.
Like, if you enjoy drums, go watch.
Yeah.
Watch me mess around and screw a bunch of stuff up. But
I love it.
So we'll see. But I'm going to start doing that pretty soon. But no, it's a lot of fun. It's just a fun hobby. Like, I enjoy it a lot.
That's way cool. So I ask everybody this question.
Yeah.
What's something that most people don't know about you?
Well, I was going to say that.
I got
drums.
You.
Where did you read that? Is there something that says I play the drums?
I think it's on your bio on the BYU thing.
Really? They put that on there?
Let's see. Right here. Yeah. Plays the drums right down there under personal. Down at the bottom, it's the last thing they have on there.
Interesting. That was Duff. That was definitely Duff. I don't know who controls that and who puts it on there, but I'm pretty sure Duff put that on there.
There you go.
Now that I think about it, because he's probably the only one who knows. But, okay, so now I have to think of something outside of the drums, because now that's on the internet, so everybody knows.
Yeah, everybody knows now.
Something that people don't know about me. Man, I heard you ask this question on the previous podcast, so I was locked and loaded with the drums.
That's funny.
You beat me to it.
It's a tough question.
That somebody doesn't know about me. People don't know.
Yeah, they might be surprised.
Reading a bunch and being a giant nerd, but we already talked about that.
Yeah, we got to know you good today. This was a good one.
So
I enjoyed this one.
Yeah, this is good.
If you can't think of anything, the drums was a good one. I think that threw a lot of people off.
Gosh. The hard part is, like, what's something that people generally don't know, and it's kind of like, I don't know, I'm kind of an open book.
Yeah.
Like, people generally kind of know what I'm up to.
Yeah.
I'm not shy. Like, I'm not gonna be like, oh, like, yeah, I read Harry Potter. I'm like 11 years old, but it's like I don't care. Like, I love Harry Potter.
That's awesome.
I don't care. Screw you if you don't like it.
I love it.
But and so, like, it's, oh man, something that people. I play golf. I
There you
just
go.
I just learned how to golf in the last year, and I play a lot now, and I've
That's
wasted
awesome.
a lot of money.
Hey,
But
but
it's
it's not
so
wasted.
fun.
I'm going golfing this weekend down St. George, so
Nice.
I'm a
dude.
big
I know,
golfer.
I got to go down there.
yeah, we need to make it happen. But that's awesome. Not a
That'd
lot.
probably be it.
Not a lot of big guys play golf. It's
Yeah.
very common among the skilled dudes. A lot of big guys don't do it. I don't
Yeah.
know why. So there you go.
There
That's
it
something
is.
we didn't know. Now we know.
Now you know.
We'll have to go golfing though.
I
Well,
know.
dude, it's been super fun.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on. It's been a
Of course.
blast.
Yeah, this is a blast.
You've shared a lot of good stuff with us. So a lot of stuff that I didn't know
Yeah.
that I got to learn a lot. So it was exciting, and
Yeah, no, this is
I
cool.
genuinely enjoyed it. So appreciate it.
You're the man.